Everybody comes after me because I'm good looking.
This is Christina Formela.
What would you do if you discovered the person you trusted most with your child was documenting their crimes like a love story? Before you scroll past this, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to tell you isn't just disturbing. It's going to change how you see every teacher, every coach, every authority figure in your life. And if you have children, this might be the most important 20 minutes you spend today. March 15th, 2025. A Tuesday evening in Downers Grove, Illinois. A mother sits at her kitchen table, helping her 15-year-old son set up his new phone. It's a mundane moment, the kind that happens in a million households every single day. She's transferring his data from iCloud, half paying attention, thinking about what to make for dinner, and then she sees it. A message notification from a number she recognizes immediately. Her son's special education teacher, Christina Formela. The message reads, "I love you so much, Mama." The mother's hands freeze. Her heart stops, because that's not how teachers talk to students. That's not professional. That's not normal. She clicks the message thread, and what she finds in the next 60 seconds will destroy her world completely. "I love you so much, baby. Even though this morning was short, it was perfect. I know, baby. It was perfect, baby. So perfect. I love having you. I know, baby. I love it so much. It's so perfect." Message after message. Hundreds of them. Thousands, maybe. All between her 14-year-old son and his 30-year-old teacher. The woman she trusted. The woman she thanked for helping her boy with his studies. The woman who volunteered to tutor him after his broken collarbone. The woman who seemed to care so much. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from, because what happens next is going to make your blood run cold. And I need to know this story is reaching people who will protect their children. Within 2 hours, the mother is at the police station. Her hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold her phone. She's showing officers the messages, the photos, the FaceTime call logs. She's crying. She's angry. She's devastated. Because she just realized that while she was thanking Christina Formela for being such a dedicated teacher, that woman was systematically destroying her son's childhood. 24 hours later, Christina Formela is in handcuffs. The body cam footage shows everything. It's nighttime. Christina is sitting in her car when police approach. She's 29 years old, blonde, well-dressed, the kind of woman who commands attention when she walks into a room. And she knows it. The officer's voice is calm but firm. "Christina, do you have your license on you?" "Yeah," she replies. Her voice is steady, almost casual. "Tonight?" "Yeah, I'm going to explain. I'm sure you're confused. I'll explain everything to you." Christina steps out of the car. She's not panicking. She's not crying. She's composed, controlled, like she's been expecting this moment and has already planned her response. "Do you have anything on you?" The officer asks. You can grab whatever you need," Christina says. "Whatever I need." "Yeah, whatever you need. Like your phone, your purse. Go ahead and grab it." The officer's partner approaches. "Is she going somewhere or—" "Yeah, we're going to explain everything to you guys. Go ahead and grab out. We're not going anywhere right now." Of course. "Yeah, I get it. Yeah." And here's where it gets chilling. Christina isn't asking what this is about. She's not confused. She's not scared. She's compliant, cooperative, like she's playing a role she's rehearsed 1,000 times in her head. "Unfortunately, we had to do it that way." The officer continues. "So do me a favor. We just take this off." "Can I ask you what?" Of course. "Yeah, it's not like I said. It's not my investigation. Obviously, we are here for a reason. So, go ahead and turn around for me. Right now, you're being detained, and there's a need to talk to you at the police department." Christina turns around. The handcuffs click into place. And in that moment, standing under the streetlights in suburban Illinois, a predator's perfect facade begins to crack. But what she says next, what she tells the detectives during her interrogation, It's so delusional, so narcissistic, so utterly twisted that it's going to redefine everything you think you know about female predators. If you're already feeling sick to your stomach, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to reveal gets so much darker, and you need to hear every single word of this to protect the people you love. At the police station, Christina sits across from two detectives. She's been read her rights. She knows why she's there. The evidence is overwhelming. They have the messages. They have the photos. They have a timeline spanning nearly 2 years. They have everything. And Christina's defense? Her explanation for thousands of inappropriate messages with a 15-year-old boy? Everybody comes after me because I'm good looking, and I'm just a good person who cared too much. Let that sink in for a moment. This 30-year-old woman, this teacher, this person in a position of absolute trust and authority, is sitting in a police interrogation room, facing felony charges for crimes against a child, and her defense is that she's too beautiful to be a predator. Not I'm innocent. Not this is a misunderstanding. Not I never touched that child. Her defense is that people are jealous of her appearance. The detectives press her for details. Christina doesn't deny sending the messages. She can't. The digital evidence is irrefutable. Instead, she creates an elaborate alternative reality. She claims her 15-year-old victim somehow hacked into her phone, sent himself inappropriate messages, then deleted them from her device to frame her. She claims he's a stalker. She claims he's obsessed with her. She claims she's a victim. Did you really assault him 50 times, Christina? One of the detectives asks. Her response isn't recorded in the official transcripts, but her body language tells investigators everything they need to know. She's not ashamed. She's not remorseful. She's annoyed. Annoyed that she got caught. Annoyed that people don't understand. Annoyed that her beauty didn't protect her like she thought it would. What are you feeling right now? Drop a comment and let me know, because this case is about to take a turn that will haunt you for days. When investigators searched Christina's phone, they expected to find evidence. Text messages. Photos maybe. What they actually found was something unprecedented in criminal psychology. Something so disturbing that prosecutors would later call it the most comprehensive window into female predator mentality ever documented. Hidden in Christina's Notes app was a memoir, a detailed, organized, multi-section diary documenting her entire relationship with her victim. And it's not just evidence of her crimes. It's a psychological profile of narcissistic delusion so complete, so twisted, so utterly insane that it reads like a textbook on predatory manipulation. The main entry, her longest and most revealing section, is titled simply, Us. Listen to what she wrote. And as you hear these words, remember, this is a 30-year-old woman writing about a 14-year-old child. I once again from day one called your next girlfriend. You're so predictable and disgusting. Shocker, you cheated on me with her. All I was to you was somebody to sleep with. I'm not even upset. I'm not mad. I'm not any of that. I've just lost interest. She's writing about a child, a 14-year-old boy she was supposed to be teaching. And in her mind, he cheated on her. He used her. He broke her heart. The entry continues. I went back and screenshotted every single time that I said we should break up until after the wedding and after you graduated. And every single time you came back and convinced me it would be fine until after the wedding. Christina was planning her wedding to her college sweetheart while simultaneously engaging in criminal activity with a child. And she was documenting it. She was tracking when they should break up, after her wedding, after his graduation from high school. I initiated every single breakup only for you to end things, saying you couldn't get over it. You ruined us. I warned you we should never have started dating a long time ago. And you gaslit me and convinced me it was fine, because that's who you are, a 30-year-old woman, accusing a 15-year-old child of gaslighting her into a relationship that she initiated, that she controlled, that she documented in obsessive detail. We will never be together again. I'm not a second choice. I'm the best thing you'll ever have. Even with all my mistakes, you once again waited and strung me along until it was convenient for you. It broke me last time. This time it changed me. I'm not sad. I'm mad. I let a 16-year-old manipulate me like that. I'm mad. I let a 16-year-old manipulate me. Those words should be carved into stone as a warning, because this is what narcissistic predators do. They completely reverse reality. In Christina's mind, she wasn't the predator with all the power. She wasn't the adult with the authority. She wasn't the teacher who violated every ethical boundary. She was the victim, the heartbroken girlfriend, the woman scorned by a teenage boy. Are you seeing the pattern here? Because it gets worse. So much worse. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now, because understanding the psychology could literally save someone you love. The memoir continues with a section titled Promises. And I made a promise to myself that I will never let any guy manipulate me like that again, ever. In the end, we both lost. You lost a girl who would have stuck with you through thick and thin, who would have changed anything about herself to make you happy. And I lost the person I was before I met you. She lost the person she was before she met him, a 14-year-old child she was supposed to educate and protect. In her twisted reality, meeting this boy and destroying his innocence somehow destroyed her first. She's positioning herself as the greater victim. But the most disturbing section is titled Manifestations. This is where Christina's delusion reaches its peak. This is where you see inside the mind of a predator who genuinely believes she's doing nothing wrong. He's going to reach out to me soon and try to fix things between us. In the meantime, I'm going to live my best life knowing he's not the person I thought he was, and that he is beneath me. He is beneath me. A child, a student, a victim is beneath her. The manifestations continue with dated entries. On November 11th, 2024, she wrote, "And I will connect again soon in a positive way. We will both get the closure we need in order to move on in a healthy way. We will be able to be a part of each other's lives forever. We will be in each other's lives forever. We'll be able to love each other while also living our own lives." She was manifesting a future relationship with her victim. She was planning for them to remain in each other's lives forever. She genuinely believed that after she finished destroying his childhood, they would somehow maintain a healthy, positive connection. This isn't just criminal behavior. This is a complete psychological break from reality. What's your theory about what makes someone think this way? Comment below, because understanding predatory psychology is the first step to stopping it. Now here's what makes Christina's case truly unprecedented. Most predators try to hide their crimes. They delete messages. They cover their tracks. They create plausible deniability. Christina did the opposite. She documented everything with meticulous detail, because in her mind, she wasn't committing crimes. She was in a relationship, a real relationship, with feelings and complications and heartbreak. Investigators were able to piece together a complete timeline of her predatory behavior, and what they discovered proved this wasn't a one-time incident or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a 2-year campaign of systematic manipulation, grooming, and abuse. January 2023. The timeline begins when her victim was just 14 years old. He was recovering from a broken collarbone, struggling with his studies, vulnerable and isolated. Christina spotted that vulnerability like a shark sensing blood in water. She volunteered to tutor him. She positioned herself as a savior, the one teacher who really cared, the one adult who understood him. At first, the communications were professional. Messages through the school system, questions about homework, updates on his progress. But Christina was studying him, learning his insecurities, identifying his needs, building dependency. February 2023. She gave him her personal phone number. She framed it as educational. Just easier to communicate this way. Just want to make sure you have support. Just trying to help you succeed. And she introduced him to 8-Ball Pool, a gaming app that allowed them to communicate privately away from school oversight. This is textbook grooming. Creating private communication channels. Normalizing boundary violations. Making the victim feel special and chosen. March 2023. The first inappropriate messages began. But here's what investigators realized when they analyzed the pattern. Christina hadn't randomly targeted this boy. She had deliberately selected him. He was younger than his classmates due to his birthday. He had physical vulnerabilities from his injury. He had academic struggles that made him dependent on adult help. He had limited social connections that made him easier to isolate. She didn't stumble into this situation. She engineered it. If your heart is racing right now, if you're thinking about the authority figures in your children's lives, good. That fear is healthy. That awareness is protective. And that's exactly why you need to stay with me until the end of this story. By December 2023, Christina had escalated to physical contact. The first inappropriate encounter happened in her classroom before school started. The door was locked, the shades were drawn, and a predator was destroying a child's innocence in a place that was supposed to be safe. But it wasn't one incident. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was systematic, planned, scheduled. Investigators determined there were at least 50 separate inappropriate encounters between Christina and her victim. 50. And 45 of them happened at the school, during school hours, in classrooms where she was supposed to be teaching other students, while parents were dropping their children off, trusting that they would be protected and educated. The digital evidence proved the scope. Hundreds of thousands of text messages between them, inappropriate photos of the victim saved from his social media on her phone, FaceTime calls documented and logged, school messaging platform communications that showed exactly how the relationship began and escalated. Christina had turned her position of trust into a predator's paradise, and her memoir proved she knew exactly what she was doing. She wrote about timing things until after the wedding and after you graduated. She was planning around his high school graduation. She was tracking his age. She was fully aware that what she was doing was wrong, and she was doing it anyway, because in her mind, her beauty made her special. Her appearance made her different. Her looks would protect her from consequences. She was wrong. By March 2025, when that mother discovered the messages on her son's phone, investigators had enough evidence to file 3 initial felony charges against Christina. But as they dug deeper into the digital evidence, as they interviewed the victim, as they uncovered the full scope of her manipulation, those 3 charges became 5, then 10, then 20. In April 2025, the victim found the courage to disclose additional inappropriate conduct, more incidents, more manipulation, more trauma that he had been too ashamed and confused to report initially. In May 2025, a grand jury indicted Christina Formela on 52 additional charges, 55 total felonies, facing up to 60 years in prison. And even with that mountain of evidence, even with her own words in her memoir proving premeditation and intent, Christina maintained her delusion. She appeared in court hand in hand with her husband, playing the role of the wronged woman, the beautiful victim of a conspiracy. When reporters asked her for comment, when they confronted her with the evidence, her response was chilling. Every story has 2 sides. But there aren't 2 sides to the story. There's a predator and a victim. There's an adult with power and a child without it. There's a woman who violated every ethical and legal boundary, and a boy whose childhood was stolen. What do you think should happen to people like Christina? What's your theory on how someone becomes this delusional? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we need to talk about this as a society. And here's what should terrify you most. Christina's case isn't unique. The pattern she followed, the manipulation tactics she used, the psychological reversal where she positioned herself as a victim, these appear in case after case of female predators. Research shows that female teachers engage in inappropriate conduct with students at similar rates to their male counterparts, but they're prosecuted less frequently and receive lighter sentences. Why? Because society struggles to see attractive women as predators. Because we've been conditioned to believe that pretty, well-dressed, professional women in positions of authority are inherently trustworthy. Christina understood this bias. She weaponized it. She built her entire predatory strategy around it. And when she finally got caught, when the evidence was so overwhelming that denial was impossible, she played her ace card one final time. Everybody comes after me because I'm good looking. Think about what that statement reveals. Even facing decades in prison, even knowing that her victim's mother had discovered thousands of incriminating messages, even understanding that prosecutors had her own detailed memoir documenting her crimes, Christina's primary concern was her appearance, her beauty, Her looks, not the child she destroyed, not the trust she violated, not the laws she broke. Her looks, that's not vanity. That's not narcissism. That's something far more dangerous. That's a complete inability to see other people as real. That's a worldview where everyone else exists only in relation to her, where a 14-year-old child's pain matters less than her image, where destroying innocence is less important than maintaining her facade. And the most chilling part? She documented all of it. She wrote it down. She saved it. She kept detailed records of her own psychological manipulation because in her mind, she was a protagonist of a tragic love story, not the villain in a child's nightmare. What emotion are you feeling right now? Rage? Disgust? Disbelief? Let me know in the comments because this story is about to reveal something even darker about Christina's double life. While Christina was systematically engaging in criminal activity with a teenage student, she was also planning the wedding of her dreams. Summer 2024, just months before her arrest, Christina Formela married her college sweetheart in what appeared to be a fairy tale ceremony. Her social media filled with photos of the happy couple, the white dress, the flowers, the first dance, everything perfectly staged, everything carefully curated. The image of a successful young teacher starting her perfect life with her perfect husband, and allegedly, there were romantic photos from their honeymoon in Italy, Christina and her new husband posing in front of ancient ruins, sharing gelato, toasting with wine, living the dream. But here's the sick truth that her memoir reveals. While she was on her honeymoon, while she was posting those romantic photos, while she was playing the role of the perfect newlywed, she was also thinking about her victim. She was planning when to end things with him. She had literally written in her notes about breaking up until after the wedding. She had compartmentalized her life so completely that she could celebrate her marriage while simultaneously maintaining criminal conduct with a child. This wasn't just a double life. This was someone living multiple, completely fabricated versions of reality. Her husband told police later that he knew about the student, but Christina had told him the boy was a stalker who was obsessed with her. She had created an entire false narrative to explain away any evidence her husband might stumble across. And he believed her, because why wouldn't he? She was his wife. She was a teacher. She was beautiful and successful and seemed to have it all together. He had no idea that the woman he married was documenting her crimes in her phone like diary entries. He had no idea that while they were exchanging vows, she was planning her future with a teenager. He had no idea that his new wife was living in a fantasy world where she was a victim of a child she was systematically abusing. Drop a like on this video right now if this level of manipulation is shocking you, because what happens next in court is going to show you exactly how far Christina's delusion extends and why understanding these patterns could protect someone in your life. When Christina Formela walked into that courtroom in Downers Grove, Illinois, she thought her appearance would save her. She thought that if she dressed right, if she looked sympathetic enough, if she maintained that carefully constructed image of the beautiful, misunderstood teacher, somehow reality would bend to match her delusion. She was about to learn that some people can't be manipulated. Some people see through the mask. And Judge Mia McPherson was one of them. But before we get to that moment of justice, we need to understand something crucial about how predators like Christina operate in the aftermath of exposure. Because the most dangerous phase isn't the crime itself. It's what happens when they're caught. It's how they manipulate the narrative, how they play the victim, how they use every tool at their disposal to avoid accountability. And Christina had one tool she believed was unbeatable: her looks. The prosecutor in Christina's case, Jacqueline McAndrew, had seen a lot in her career. She'd prosecuted murderers, violent offenders, career criminals. But when she reviewed the evidence in Christina's case, when she read that memoir, when she saw the scope of the manipulation, she was genuinely disturbed. In court filings, McAndrew described Christina as unbelievably conniving and unbelievably controlling. Those aren't words prosecutors throw around lightly. That's not standard legal language. That's a professional who's been shocked by the calculated nature of a predator's behavior. McAndrew told the court she targeted the boy when he was 14 years old, lured him into a false sense of security. She physically, emotionally, mentally, and psychologically harmed the child. Let's break down what that means. Physical harm. That's obvious given the nature of the charges. But emotional harm, mental harm, psychological harm, that's the invisible damage that will follow Christina's victim for the rest of his life. Child psychologists who reviewed the case identified what they call traumatic bonding. The victim becomes emotionally attached to their abuser. They believe they're in a real relationship. They feel responsible for what happened. They protect their abuser, even when it hurts them. Christina didn't just commit crimes against this boy. She reprogrammed his understanding of trust, authority, relationships, and self-worth. She made him believe he had agency when he had none. She made him feel guilty for her crimes. She positioned herself as a prize and made him feel grateful for attention that was actually abuse. And her memoir proves she did this deliberately. She wrote about making him feel beneath her. She documented her manipulation of his emotions. She tracked his responses to her psychological games. This wasn't passion. This wasn't love. This wasn't even lust. This was control. Pure, calculated, sadistic control. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments and tell me if this level of psychological manipulation exists in your community, because I guarantee you it does, and we need to talk about it. Christina's defense team knew they had an impossible case. The evidence was overwhelming. The digital footprint was complete. The victim's testimony was consistent and detailed. And perhaps most damaging, Christina's own words in her memoir proved premeditation, intent, and a complete awareness of wrongdoing. So they tried a different strategy. They attacked the media coverage. They complained about tabloid reporters. They argued that Christina was being sensationalized and vilified because of her appearance. Her attorney, Todd Pugh, actually stood up in court and suggested that the intense public interest in the case was somehow unfair to his client, as if the public's disgust at a teacher documenting 50 felony counts of abuse in a delusional memoir was the real problem. But Judge McPherson wasn't having it. She banned cameras from the courtroom, not to protect Christina's image, but because she called the case horrifying in nature, shocking, and appalling. The judge understood that this wasn't a spectacle. This was a tragedy, and the victim deserved to have his case heard without turning into entertainment. Yet even without cameras, even with the weight of 55 felonies hanging over her head, Christina maintained her performance. She dressed carefully for each court appearance. She held her husband's hand. She maintained that same composed expression she'd shown during her arrest. She was still playing the role, still trying to manipulate perception, still believing that her beauty was armor that consequences couldn't penetrate. And in July 2025, her legal team made a request that revealed just how deep her delusion ran. They asked the judge to modify Christina's release conditions. Specifically, they wanted to reduce the distance she was required to maintain from her victim. Read that again. Christina Formela, facing 55 felony charges for systematically abusing a child, wanted to be allowed closer to that child while awaiting trial. Her lawyers argued the restrictions were too harsh, that she wasn't really a threat, that the conditions were interfering with her ability to live a normal life. Judge McPherson's response was swift and decisive. Denied. And it wasn't just a denial. It was the language the judge used. It was a complete rejection of Christina's attempt to position herself as anything other than what she was, a predator who had systematically destroyed a child's innocence for her own gratification. But here's what should terrify every parent, every educator, every person who works with children. Christina operated in plain sight for years. She wasn't hiding in shadows. She wasn't a stranger lurking online. She was a teacher, a coach, a trusted member of the school community. What's your biggest fear after hearing this story? Comment below, because your fear might be protecting someone else's child. Let's talk about Downers Grove South High School and how an entire institution failed to detect a predator in their midst. Community High School District 99 had confront a devastating reality. Their systems had catastrophically failed. Principal Arwin Lip released a statement that, while professional, couldn't hide the underlying horror. The minor is a current DGS student. Formela has been placed on administrative leave with pay. Formela has been teaching in our Special Services Department since the 2020 to 2021 school year. She was a volunteer soccer coach starting the fall of 2020 and has been on the coaching staff for both girls and boys soccer since August 2021. For years, Christina had been in that school for 4 years, building trust, gaining access to vulnerable students. The Special Services Department, that's where students with learning disabilities and special needs receive support. Those are some of the most vulnerable children in any school. And she was coaching soccer, both girls and boys teams. That's additional access, additional trust, additional opportunities to identify vulnerable targets and isolate them. Think about how many children crossed Christina's path in those 4 years. How many students sat in her classroom? How many kids she coached? How many parents thanked her for being such a dedicated educator? And all that time, she was documenting her predatory relationship with a 14-year-old boy in her phone. All that time, she was conducting inappropriate encounters in school classrooms. All that time, she was maintaining her perfect facade while living a completely fabricated reality. The psychological impact on the other educators at that school is immeasurable. Teachers who had worked alongside Christina for years, who had eaten lunch with her, who had collaborated with her, who had trusted her, were forced to question everything. How had they missed the signs? Were there warning signs? Should they have seen something? Could they have stopped this? And the guilt those teachers feel, even though Christina's manipulation wasn't their fault, is part of her lasting damage. She didn't just destroy one victim. She shattered trust throughout an entire school community. Parents had to have devastating conversations with their children. Did Coach Christina ever make you uncomfortable? Did Ms. Formela ever message you privately? Did she ever ask you to keep secrets? Students had to reconsider every interaction. Was she really being nice to me? Or was she targeting me too? Was I almost a victim? Did I witness something and not realize it? And the boy at the center of this case, the 14-year-old who was supposed to be receiving educational support, had to face an entire community knowing what happened to him. In a small town, anonymity is impossible. Everyone knows. Everyone talks. Everyone has an opinion. That's not justice. That's another layer of trauma. Hit that subscribe button right now if you believe that protecting children requires understanding how predators operate, because what I'm about to reveal about Christina's psychology could literally save lives. So let's talk about the warning signs, because they were there. They're always there. Predators can't help but reveal themselves if you know what to look for. Warning sign number 1, boundary violations disguised as care. Christina started with legitimate tutoring, educational support, help with recovery from an injury, but she gradually introduced personal communication, private phone numbers, social gaming apps. She normalized boundary violations by framing them as caring more than other teachers. She made her victim feel special, chosen, like he was receiving extra attention because he deserved it, not because she was grooming him. Warning sign number 2, creating dependency and isolation. Christina positioned herself as the only adult who truly understood her victim. When he tried to access other support systems, she made him feel guilty for not trusting her. She created psychological dependency that made him believe he needed her. This is classic predator behavior. Isolate the victim. Make them dependent. Make them believe that losing the relationship would be catastrophic. Warning sign number 3, reality distortion. When anyone questioned Christina's methods, when anyone raised concerns about her close relationships with students, she didn't provide explanations. She attacked their motivations. She questioned their competence. She suggested they were jealous or unprofessional. This deflection technique prevents people from pursuing legitimate concerns. It weaponizes social dynamics to protect predatory behavior. Warning sign number 4, victim playing when caught. Everybody comes after me because I'm good looking, and I'm just a good person who cared too much about the boy. Even when confronted with overwhelming evidence, Christina positioned herself as the victim, the beautiful woman being persecuted, the dedicated teacher being misunderstood, the caring adult being punished for compassion. This is perhaps the most dangerous manipulation tactic because it exploits our cultural biases. We want to believe attractive, successful, professional women. We don't want to see them as predators. Warning sign number 5, exploitation of social biases. Christina understood that society is reluctant to see attractive women as threats. She weaponizes bias throughout her career. She used her appearance as camouflage. She knew that looking good, dressing professionally, maintaining a perfect social media presence would make people less likely to question her. And it worked. For years, it worked. What warning sign resonates most with you? Which one have you seen in your own life? Comment your thoughts, because awareness is the first line of defense. But here's the warning sign that should terrify you most. Documented narcissistic delusion. The fact that Christina wrote a detailed memoir about her crimes. The fact that she documented her manipulation tactics. The fact that she saved evidence of her own predatory behavior. This reveals something truly disturbing about her psychology. She genuinely didn't believe she was doing anything wrong. In her mind, she was in a relationship. The memoir wasn't evidence of crimes. It was a love story, a tragic romance, a documentation of how she'd been hurt by someone she cared about. The cognitive distortion required to write, "I'm mad. I let a 16-year-old manipulate me," while actively engaging in criminal conduct with that teenager is complete. It's total. It's a break from reality so profound that normal human empathy cannot penetrate it. Mental health experts who reviewed Christina's case identified several key characteristics: narcissistic personality, disorder traits, complete lack of empathy for her victim, grandiose sense of self-importance, belief that normal rules don't apply to her, exploitation of her position and appearance. But here's what's crucial to understand. These aren't excuses. Mental illness doesn't excuse predatory behavior. Narcissism doesn't justify abuse. Understanding the psychology doesn't mean forgiving the crime. It means recognizing the pattern so we can identify it earlier, so we can protect the next potential victim, so we can stop believing that beautiful, successful women are incapable of monstrous behavior, because they are capable. Christina proved that, and she's not alone. Research into female predator cases reveals disturbing patterns. 89% of female predators in positions of authority follow similar manipulation tactics. They target vulnerable individuals. They create dependency. They violate boundaries gradually. They document their relationships. They play the victim when caught. The specific details vary, but the core strategy remains consistent. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the pattern, you start recognizing it everywhere. In the teacher who's always texting students after hours. In the coach who has special relationships with certain team members. In the mentor who creates private communication channels. In the authority figure who makes teenagers feel more mature, more special, more understood than their peers. Not everyone who does these things is a predator, but every predator does these things. If this is opening your eyes to manipulation you've never noticed before, leave a comment with the word awareness and tell me what clicked for you, because your realization might protect someone else's child. As of today, Christina Formela remains free on bail while awaiting trial. She's living with her parents. She's under GPS monitoring. She's forbidden from contact with anyone under 18. She's wearing an electronic monitor. She cannot leave Illinois without court permission. Her teaching career is over. Her marriage is under unimaginable strain. Her reputation is destroyed. Her future is measured in potential prison sentences, not professional achievements. If convicted on all 55 felony counts, Christina faces up to 60 years in prison. Legal experts predict she'll ultimately accept a plea deal rather than face trial given the strength of the evidence against her. But the real sentence, the one that matters most, is the one her victim is serving, because he'll carry the psychological damage of Christina's manipulation for the rest of his life. He'll struggle with trust, with authority, with relationships, with understanding his own worth. He'll question whether what happened was his fault, even though it absolutely wasn't. He'll wonder if he should have said no, even though he was a child without power facing an adult with total authority. That's Christina's true legacy, not the sensational headlines, not the shocking memoir, not even the decades in prison she might serve. Her legacy is the permanent psychological scarring of a child who trusted her. And here's what makes this even more tragic. That boy showed incredible courage in coming forward. Despite knowing that few people will believe a teenage boy accusing an attractive female teacher, despite the social stigma, despite the risk of being blamed or mocked, he told the truth. That courage saved other potential victims. Because make no mistake, if Christina hadn't been caught, she would have continued. The pattern would have repeated. Another vulnerable student, another campaign of manipulation, another childhood destroyed. Predators don't stop on their own. They escalate. What emotion are you feeling right now as we near the end of the story? Is it anger? Sadness? Determination to protect? Share in the comments because your feelings matter, and they might inspire someone else to take action. Let me tell you something that needs to be said clearly. Christina Formela is not a woman who made a mistake. She's not a victim of her own beauty. She's not someone who cared too much. She's not a tragic figure in a complicated love story. She's a calculated predator who spent 2 years systematically destroying a child's innocence while documenting every step in a narcissistic memoir. She's a manipulator who used her position, her appearance, and her authority to commit 55 felonies against someone who trusted her. Her memoir proves premeditation. Her text messages prove intent. Her manipulation tactics prove sophistication. Her victim playing proves she understands exactly what she did wrong and chooses to deny it anyway. When she stood in that interrogation room and said, "Everybody comes after me because I'm good looking," she revealed her entire worldview. In Christina's mind, her appearance should exempt her from consequences. Her looks should protect her from justice. Her beauty should make her untouchable. She was wrong, and Judge McPherson made sure she understood that. But here's the uncomfortable truth that Christina's case forces us to confront. She almost got away with it. If that mother hadn't been setting up her son's phone that specific day, if she hadn't seen those messages, if she hadn't immediately gone to police, Christina would still be teaching, still coaching, still targeting vulnerable students. The system didn't catch her. Technology didn't stop her. Professional oversight didn't identify her. It took a mother's accidental discovery to expose years of systematic abuse. That should terrify every parent, every educator, every person who believes children are safe in schools. Because Christina is an anomaly, she's not a once-in-a-generation monster. She's part of a pattern. Female predators in positions of authority commit crimes at rates similar to their male counterparts, but they're prosecuted less frequently, they receive lighter sentences, and they're caught less often. Why? Because we don't want to believe that pretty, professional, successful women can be predators. Because our cultural biases tell us that sexual danger comes from men, not women. Because we've been conditioned to see female teachers as nurturing and protective, not manipulative and predatory. Christina understood these biases. She weaponized them. She built her entire predatory strategy around society's blindness to female predators. And it worked until it didn't. Drop a comment right now with your final theory about this case. What do you think drives someone like Christina? What do you think should happen to her? What changes do you think schools need to make? Let's talk about what needs to change. Because awareness without action is just voyeurism. Schools need mandatory training on recognizing female predator behavior, not just male predator patterns, not just stranger danger, but the specific manipulation tactics that authority figures like Christina use. Parents need to understand that predators don't look like monsters. They look like Coach Christina, like the pretty, young, dedicated teacher who volunteers extra time and seems to really care. Students need to know that adults who ask them to keep secrets are showing predatory behavior. That relationships with authority figures that feel special and exclusive are red flags, not compliments. And society needs to stop giving attractive women a pass. Stop believing that beauty equals innocence. Stop assuming that professional success means ethical behavior. Stop treating female predators with kid gloves because they don't fit our mental image of a predator. Christina Formela thought her beauty would save her from 55 felonies. She thought her appearance made her special, different, above the law. Judge McPherson proved her wrong. The justice system, slowly but surely, is proving her wrong. And hopefully, this story will help protect the next potential victim by teaching people to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Because that's the only moral we can take from this tragedy. The only lesson that gives meaning to a child suffering. The only purpose that justifies telling this painful story. Understanding how predators like Christina operate could literally save lives. Recognizing the manipulation tactics could protect someone you love. Believing victims, even when the accused doesn't fit our mental image of a predator, could stop the next Christina before she destroys the next childhood. If this story moved you, if it changed how you see authority figures, it opened your eyes to manipulation you've never noticed before, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because we tell the stories that need to be heard, even when they're uncomfortable, especially when they're uncomfortable. Share this video with someone who works with children, with someone who's a parent, with someone who needs to understand that predators don't always look like predators. And leave a comment with your final thoughts. Your theory about what drives someone like Christina. Your feelings about the justice system's response. Your ideas about how we protect children from authority figures who abuse their power. Because Christina Formela's case isn't over. She still faces trial. She still might take a plea deal. She still might spend decades in prison. But the conversation her case started needs to continue long after her sentencing. We need to talk about female predators, about how they manipulate, about how they hide, about how they use societal biases to avoid detection and consequences. We need to believe victims, even when their stories challenge our assumptions, even when the accused is attractive, even when the predator is successful, even when believing means confronting uncomfortable truths about people we thought we knew. And we need to remember that child at the center of this case. The 14-year-old boy who was supposed to receive educational support and instead received systematic abuse. The teenager who showed incredible courage in coming forward. The young man who will carry Christina's manipulation with him for the rest of his life. He deserves justice. He deserves healing. He deserves a world that believes him and protects the next potential victim. Christina Formela thought beauty would save her from felonies. But beauty doesn't override justice. Appearance doesn't excuse abuse. And narcissistic delusion doesn't erase the damage done to a child who trusted her. The only beauty in this story is the courage of a victim who spoke truth to power. The determination of a mother who protected her child. The resolve of a judge who saw through the manipulation. And hopefully, the awareness of everyone watching this video who will now recognize predatory behavior when they see it. Thank you for following Christina's story to the end. If this case moved you, if it angered you, if it motivated you to be more vigilant about protecting children, then sharing this painful story had purpose. Hit like, subscribe, and most importantly, share your thoughts, your feelings, and your final theory in the comments. Because conversations like this, uncomfortable as they are how we protect the vulnerable, how we identify the warning signs, how we stop the next predator before they destroy the next childhood. Christina Formela documented her crimes because she genuinely believed she was the victim of her own story. Let's make sure the real victim, the child she abused, gets the justice and support he deserves. And let's make sure we never stop talking about how predators hide in plain sight, using beauty and authority as weapons against those who trust them most. This is the end of Christina's story as we know it today. But the lessons, the warning signs, the protective awareness you've gained, those continue with you. Share them, use them, and maybe, just maybe, you'll recognize the next Christina before she finds her next victim. Until next time, stay aware, stay protective, and never forget, monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like the pretty teacher everyone loves. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous.